Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome to McKola TV. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today we are getting stuck into a Manchester United current squad tier list. Yes, we'll be rating and reviewing the current squad as it is on the Manchester United website when you click on the first team. So we'll be going through every single player from back to front as it is in the first team squad on the official Manchester United website and sticking them into a tier list. In a minute, I'm going to shrink. There's going to come a big tier list up, and that's going to have world class, potential legend, squad player, future star, and the list that nobody wants to be on, the transfer list. And once those come up, we'll go for every player and decide who goes where. And remember, this is interactive, so as we go through, we want you guys getting in those comments below and letting us know your opinions. Have I tiered somebody incorrectly? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribing as well. We're very close to 70,000 at the moment. We may have hit it by the time you watch this, but we want to hit 100k by the end of May. If you can help us do that, I know it's a long shot, then get hitting that subscribe button. Click join as well if you fancy it. And thank you to the first 30 odd members that we've had come over to McKola TV for exclusive content and all that stuff as well. And your support is massively appreciated as we ramp things up here on AMTV. But for now, let's shrink myself and get stuck into this tier list. Right then, we're going to go from back to front, and we're starting with David De Gea, and he, for me, is still world class. Yes, he's in that world class tier. Yes, he's had some difficult times, but we've got to stick by him. He's been world class more often than he's been having his difficult times, and I think he's got a lot more credit in the bank. There's been a lot of talk about Dean Henderson returning, and if he was in this list, in this tier list, in this squad list, I'd put him in as a future star quite obviously. But I think we can benefit a lot by leaving Dean Henderson where he is and allowing him to continue developing and nurturing and educating himself on the game at a very high level at Sheffield United. There's no need to rush him back in at Old Trafford. We've got David De Gea here, who for me is still a world-class goalkeeper. Next up, Sergio Romero, and I've put him in as a squad player in this tier list. Yes, a squad player. Clearly the best backup goalkeeper in the league. Now there's a chance he could want to move on, and you could find him on the transfer list because he wants to go on and get game time elsewhere and be somebody's number one. But if Sergio Romero doesn't show any desire to do that, and he's happy being at Manchester United, being the backup for David De Gea, and being involved with the club, and you know, playing in those cup games, domestic cups, European cups, etc., then I'd keep him in the squad, because again, it allows us to take our time with Dean Henderson. We don't have to rush him back into things. We can allow him to continue developing and nurturing, and there's no need to rock the boat and start changing things. Remember how difficult it was to replace Schmeichel. There's no need to remove David De Gea, and I don't think there's any need to remove his understudy in Sergio Romero. Our third choice goalkeeper, Lee Grant. Now, I've stuck him on the transfer list, and I'll tell you why, and the next thing that we do on the tier list will explain that a little bit as well. But ultimately, if he stays, I don't have an issue. He doesn't play for Manchester United very much anyway, and he's just there in the worst case scenario, so you don't have to entertain an emergency loan like with Andy Gorham. He's not a hassle at the club. He doesn't kick up a fuss or anything like that. He's seemingly a good professional, so there'd be nothing wrong with him staying at United and being in that squad. But he could potentially be on the transfer list, and the next one will explain it. And that's because I think Joel Pereira could be a squad player for Manchester United next season. Now, Joel Pereira for me was someone that I consider a future star, someone that had massive potential. Before all the furore and the hype around Dean Henderson, Joel Pereira was the one for me. He's had a few loan moves which haven't quite gone to plan in Scotland, in Portugal, and you know, it's not quite gone to plan for him, but he's still young, and goalkeepers develop at a later stage. Now, we could let go of Lee Grant, bring Joel Pereira into the squad, allow him to be a part of that squad, maybe even give him cup games instead of Sergio Romero, and begin to see whether we've got someone there that is worth keeping a hold of, maybe sending him out on loan again, or, you know, selling him and letting him go, because we have got Dean Henderson coming through in the future. It's a big turning point in his career, Joel Pereira, but I still think he's of an age where you shouldn't really give up on him. He's a goalkeeper, do you know what I mean? And they develop a little bit later, and he clearly has the natural ability there. Right, moving on to that defence now, and the first defender up is Victor Lindelof, who I've put in as squad player. Now, I know his first choice for Manchester United, but I don't think I've quite seen enough to suggest anything that he's going to be a potential legend or he's currently world class. He's obviously not a future star, although he could be a future key player for United in a future, you know, he could be a potential legend. He could go on to be world class, you never know. But at the moment, you couldn't say that. I have no problem with him starting games at times, although I think there's stronger players in the team, and you'll see that as we go through. But I do think he's a valuable member of the squad, a valuable partner to Maguire, as we've seen throughout the season. Even though you maybe think we can improve on him, he has done okay. So Victor Lindelof for me, squad player, and a valuable one at that. Now Eric Bailly's next up on this list, and he's someone that I think could potentially replace Victor Lindelof in that squad. But again, you've got to put him in as a squad player. You can't justify calling him world class, a potential legend, a future star, because we know how good he can be. If he's that good consistently and he plays for United for the next 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, he could go on to be a legend. He could go on to be world class. But as of yet, you've not seen enough of him. You've seen he's got the potential there. You've seen he's got the ability there. But his injuries have meant we've not seen enough of it. Now, I still think he should be regarded as one of our first choice defenders when fit, and I still think he could possibly come in and partner Harry Maguire alongside in that central defensive partnership. But for now, you have to put him as a squad player. Philip Jones next up. This one's easy, isn't it? And transfer list is sad, but it's easy to do. If there's someone there willing to buy Phil Jones, you let him go, you let him leave. It's sad that it's come to this, because he came to the club with massive potential, massively rated. He's shown at times as well he could have been something for us, but he never quite went to plan for whatever reason, whether that's, you know, just inadequacies as a player and mentally, whether that was his injuries taking its toll, whatever it was, it hasn't gone to plan. And I think the best thing for him is to move on and get football elsewhere and settle down again. He could still rescue his career. He's had great memories at United, but he's not going to be ahead of Maguire, Lindelof, Eric Bailly, Axel Tuanzebe, so you have to let him go. Next up, we've got Harry Maguire. Now, I've put him in at potential legend. Now, let me explain. You could very easily rank him alongside a squad player like Bailly and Lindelof and say he still hasn't proven whether he could be a potential legend or a world class. But I'd argue otherwise. I think he has shown he could potentially stay at Manchester United for a very long time and be our captain for a very long time. Not only on the pitch, but off the pitch. I think he's well regarded in the dressing room. I think he's well looked up to. And I think he also leads by example as well, in terms of how he is off the pitch, in terms of how he is on the pitch. I think at times this season there has been doubts about him, especially early on in the season. He didn't settle as quickly as we would have liked. But once he got that armband, I definitely saw him settle as a player. And as we've said, United have got one of the better defensive records in Europe, whether you like that or not. And he's been a big part of that settling in defence. And I do think he could go on to be world class, be regarded as one of the best defenders in the world. But he's not that yet. And I think it'd be unfair to say he's a squad player. With the captain's armband, you never know. He could go down as a legend in the next 10, 15 years. You never know how we look back on things, especially if he's the captain that leads us on to, you know, our first league title since Fergie, or first proper big trophy since Fergie. Number 12, Chris Smalling, transfer list. Now, this is one where you could look at his loan move in Italy and say he's actually earned his position as a squad player for Man United. He's earned his spot to come back and fight for it. But actually, I disagree with that. I think he's shown that he's a decent player. I think he's shown that we'll be able to get a decent fee for him, depending on how this transfer window goes down. But I think he's also shown that his future is away from Manchester United. He wasn't great for United on a weekly basis. I don't think he's better than Bailly, Lindelof or Maguire. And I just think it's time to move on for both club and player. It's great to see him settle down somewhere, but that doesn't mean that, United have missed a trick, United should have kept him. It doesn't mean that. It just means that he's finally settled down and, you know, maybe he needed a move. Marcus Rojo, transfer listed. Yes, he's on that list with Smalling, Jones. He's already out of the club. He's at Estudiantes on loan. He's saying he wants to stay there. He doesn't want United to call a halt to that loan. And I think it's just time to you know, just let him go. I like him. I think he's a little bit of a mental bastard, but Smalling and Jones could probably argue they deserve more of a chance than he does at the club. When you consider how much he's been available, how many injuries he's had, etc. As much as you love his mentalness, it's probably time to just give up on him and let him go elsewhere. And I think he'll be one of those on the transfer list this summer. Now this one is a difficult one. I've gone for squad player with Diogo Dalot, but you could very possibly see him in that blue section on that transfer list. We've heard a lot of reports in relation to that, the likes of PSG, Spurs being interested. But I just think, he's someone that we could probably get a decent fee for. And with the next market, we don't know how that's going to go. We want to spend, rumours that we want to spend a lot of money on Jadon Sancho. If we got him, if we kept Digallo, if we want to invest elsewhere, I think you've got to sell players. And if you get rid of Smalling, Jones, I think Diogo Dalot is one of those that could probably command a decent fee, and we've got cover for elsewhere in the squad. But having said that, we don't know whether Brandon Williams is going to continue on his rise, whether Ethan Laird is going to, come in and be a part of that first team squad, because they're still very young, as is Diogo. But I think there's something there. Hard for him to get in at right back with Wan-Bissaka there. But I think there's something there, and personally, I'd keep him for the next season. Keep him in that squad. Luke Shaw, squad player. I was tempted to create a little bit of debate and put him on the transfer list, but that would be crazily unfair. I think, the decision to give him Player of the Year in the last season was probably a bit of an overreaction, but he had a decent campaign. He's had a decent campaign this year, albeit his best games have come at left centre-back. And the challenge from Brandon Williams in his full-back spot has obviously been one that he's had to rise to. I think he has done that a little bit and probably shown that he has a future at Man United. And for that reason, he's in the squad player section. Timothy Fosu-Mensah. This is hard, I'm a little bit biased to Simbo, but his time could be up at United. I'd say squad player, being kind, but he could very well find himself on the transfer list. I say squad player because we've triggered the extension in his contract, and it looks like he may get an opportunity there. If we were to sell someone like Diogo Dalot, then Timothy Fosu-Mensah probably takes his spot in the squad. You could, if you were Diogo Dalot, you'd think I'm better than him and I deserve my opportunity more than him, and you'd probably be right. But before his injuries, before his not great loan moves, Fosu-Mensah was highly rated, and I think just giving him one more year to see what he's got, one more year under the guidance of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I remember seeing him outside Craven Cottage when he was on loan at Fulham and he was injured, and we had Ollie at the time, and I said to him, imagine if you weren't out of the club at the moment and you were at United, you would get an opportunity under this manager. And now he's here. He will be given a chance. I'm sure he will. So let's see what he can do with that. Someone that's standing in his way, though, is potential legend Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, I've put him at potential legend. There's not many better than him in the world at right back. And, you could say world class. Probably couldn't argue with that. But I'd say potential legend. Let's leave that carrot dangling for him to keep working hard, keep developing, keep training at United, and keep, proving himself on the football field. Still places for improvement with him. But he's been fantastic this year. My player of the year, potential legend for Man United. If he holds down that right back spot for the next 5-10 years, he'll go down as a great. Axel Tuanzebe, future star. And let me explain. I was close to doing squad player because I think you've probably grown up too much for that future star bracket. But last year was a big miss for him, this season even. He had a fantastic year at Aston Villa, helped him gain promotion, created that partnership with Tyrone Mings, came back to United, looked like he was going to get his chance, was selected to play against Liverpool, went down with injury in the warm-up, was never really sitting in the first team again. Missed that opportunity. Now, some might say that's his opportunity gone. But I still think he has something there. And with that spot still being available next to Harry Maguire, when you're looking at Lindelof, we could probably improve on him. Eric Bailly, he's probably better than Lindelof, but he's never fit. So Axel Tuanzebe could get his chance. But if he starts not being fit and all that, could find himself on the transfer list in a year or two. So hopefully this is the next 12 months is a big 12 months for him. He can start to settle as a Man United player and take his chances and not be injured. Another future star, Brandon Williams, and the man that's come in and made Luke Shaw have to work hard to keep his spot in the team. He's maybe even made Luke Shaw be accommodated at left centre back at times, which helps Brandon Williams in that his inadequacies are probably defensively. He needs to improve there, but also he's better than Luke Shaw going forward. And I think he's got that tenacity, he's got that aggression, he's got that drive that Luke Shaw had, unfortunately, before his injury. Now we can look at that injury with a sympathetic eye, but we also have to look at it with a little bit of realism, and we've not seen the same player since. Brandon Williams for me is ahead of him, and he's a future star at Manchester United. Now David De Gea is not so lonely in that world-class section, as Paul Pogba will be joining him. If he stays at United, signs a contract, helps us return to those big glories, he could go down as a club legend. But as of yet, you know, we don't even know if he's going to stay or not. He is world-class though, that's for sure, and I'd love him to stay at Manchester United. We didn't get to see enough of him last season, however you want to call it, because of injury. But if we can keep him at Manchester United, get him building something with Bruno Fernandez and them guys, we could have one of the best attacks in the Premier League and potentially in Europe. The special Juan is becoming a valuable member of the squad, I think. We've seen with him that he's brought something to the table, especially with Bruno. He was seemingly the only one that was on his wavelength. The thing for him is he hasn't got the pace or the legs anymore. He's getting older, do you know what I mean? But he signed a contract recently. He's one of the very few that can play that number 10 role and pick out a pass for us. And if he had pace, he'd probably be the best player in the team. Nevertheless, he's still a valuable squad member, I think. And he's someone that will be crucial. He's won everything, do you know what I mean? The Champions League, the World Cup. He's won absolutely everything. And him in the dressing room, around those younger players that are coming through, I think Wamba's guidance can be very, very crucial for Manchester United. I do think he's a valuable member of the squad, and he probably would have been on the verge of being on the transfer list maybe before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in. Now this one's tricky. I think Jesse could very easily find himself on the transfer list in the summer, especially depending who we bring in. If we brought in someone like Jack Grealish, James Maddison, I think Jesse could start to think of a future elsewhere, especially when he's got Mino Raiola. But I actually think he'll be a squad player next season, because I don't think we will get Jack Grealish if Pogba doesn't leave. We've already heard Ed Woodward warn about there being, you know, potentially a lack of activity in the transfer window. And whilst I think that won't mean we don't sign anybody, I do think there's a little bit of realism in that. And you could see Jesse Lingard probably be someone that ends up staying and fighting for a spot in the squad. Whereas if things were going normally, you see him with Mino Raiola as his agent, he'd probably be on the transfer list and heading out. But due to that lack of activity, he could be given an opportunity to stay. If people put him on a transfer list, I get it. But I think we could see him in the squad next season. And with a fully functional squad, with a squad that's playing, you know, imagine a Pogba, Bruno, you know, you got Rashford, Greenwood, Martial, Igalo, Sancho in the front four, and you got all these players, and then Jesse Lingard's a squad player, or being used away from home in certain tactical. There's a place where he could become valuable to you, but over the last 12 months he hasn't been great, and if he finds himself on the transfer list, he only has himself to blame. Same could be said for Andreas Pereira, who I think could be someone that is affected anyway. It'd come down to, okay, Jesse or Andreas, who stays? And I think Jesse's probably the most valuable in terms of keeping him in the squad. Andreas is probably the one that will find himself on the transfer list. Now, the noises coming from him are that he wants to stay, he wants to fight for his squad. But if Pogba doesn't go, if we strengthen our squad anymore, even if we don't strengthen our squad anymore, Pogba staying, Bruno coming in, you know, Mata seemingly growing in confidence. If Jesse doesn't leave, Andreas Pereira could then start thinking, you know what, I need to get a move to get football, because he's not going to get it at Manchester United. Jesse might even think that too. Now, Fred has been absolutely fantastic this season, Player of the Year nomination for sure, and he's become a valuable member of the squad. I don't think you can say he's a potential legend at this moment in time. He needs to do more, but he's not world class either. So you have to put him in that squad player section, in my opinion. But he's shown, you know, he's probably gone from being on that blue list for many, then that blue tier for many, on the transfer list, to now coming into the top 3 tiers. That's how good he's been this season. He started off a little bit slowly, but but he grew in stature, he grew in belief, and even when we had players out injured, McTominay, Pogba for long periods, Fred was a mainstay, and he was very important for Manchester United. So well done to him. He's kind of sealed his spot in the squad for the foreseeable future. Bruno Fernandez up next, and I think this one's pretty easy. I can't think you can call him world class yet. Don't think he's a squad player. He's clearly a potential legend for Manchester United. If things continue as they are, and he continues to perform like he is week in, week out, like he has been doing for United and Sporting Lisbon before he arrived, I think he'll be regarded as a world class player if that happens over a consistent enough amount of seasons. But for United as well, if he plays like he has done and he can be a big part of what rejuvenates this club and helps us get back to winning big trophies, then he'll go down as a legend. For now, you can't call him one, but he defo has the potential to be one. Another signing that's proving to be a valuable member of the squad is Daniel James. Now, came in, he got the most assists for Manchester United in the league. He had a flying start to the season after a summer where he had sealed his dream move to Manchester United, lost his father, things like that. It was a difficult time for him. He came in and he didn't show any effects of it. Was excellent for Manchester United, hit the ground running. Back end of the season, he's had a quiet one. He showed a little bit of a return to form, like you think he played well against City and things like that. But for me, he's still a very valuable squad player. If you sign a Jadon Sancho and you've got Jadon and Rashford on the wings, Daniel James on the bench coming off or being used in cup, that's a very good option to have. I think the problem came for him when he was being relied upon week in, week out, having just made a move from Swansea. There's a lot of pressure on young shoulders, and maybe a player that has his limitations, you know what I mean? He's not Rashford, he's not a Sancho, and we kind of have to recognise that yes, we do need to improve in those positions, but he's still very, very valuable. Angel Gomez, future star, surely now. If he's here next season or not, it's still up in the air. There's been rumours he's going to sign a new deal, but if he signs a new deal, he's a future star. It's simple as that. One of the best, one of the most natural talents coming through the Manchester United ranks. And when you look at the players that we have got coming through, we are very much spoilt for choice in terms of the academy talents that we've got coming through. And Angel Gomez is another one of those. Didn't get to see enough of him in the first team squad last season. Hopefully that will change in the coming months, in the coming campaign. Or he could even find himself on loan. But I do think he's a future star for Manchester United, and we need to get him signed down to a new deal. Now, Nemanja Matic, for me, would possibly have been on a transfer list, but he's signing a new deal, you know what I mean? And he's going to be staying at Manchester United, and that's for sure. So me putting him on the transfer list would absolutely mean nothing, but I think he's a squad player. I would have possibly put him on the transfer list in a normal summer transfer window without all this going on and replaced him in the squad, because I think that's a position we need to improve in. But keeping him has its benefits as well. He's an experienced player that won't expect to play week in, week out. So then you could possibly see opportunities coming for the likes of Garner, Levitt, etc. And you've still got McTominay and Fred that can play. So I do think he's a squad player at this moment in time. But I was very close to putting him on the transfer list. I just don't think it's realistic though. Really, is it? I told you we're spoilt for choice with future stars. James Garner is another one of those. Future star for Manchester United. Some people say they go to the academy just to watch him alone, and when you consider how many good players we've got coming through in the academy, James Garner, it shows how good he is. We've heard Fred recently say he's the best player coming through the academy, and when you look at Angel Gomez, Mason Greenwood, all these players coming through, it's a great problems to have where you're thinking, who's our best academy talent? And we've got all these players that spring to mind. James Garner's another one of them. We got to see glimpses of him in the first team squad, and I believe especially with Matic signing a new deal, not being able to play week in, week out, we'll get to see more of James Garner in the near future. Someone that's gone from the periphery to being a very valuable squad player is Scott McTominay. Now, he's been injured parts this season, but he's also been very crucial at parts this season, and his goal against Manchester City is something that will go down in the memory for a very long time, especially with it being the last time we were at Old Trafford with all this stuff going on. Look, you could potentially make an argument for saying Scott McTominay could become a legend at United, but I think that's going too far too soon. He's not world class. I think he's of an age where you can't really call him a future star, because if you can call him a future star, you can say Rashford and all that as well. So I'd say valuable squad player, but on the verge of you know, possibly entering that potential legend bracket because of the way he is. He's come through the academy, the style of player that he is in terms of, you know, covering a lot of grass, getting into tackles and things. Fans love that kind of thing, and players like that are very crucial to the team as well in the squad coming through. So Scott McTominay, yeah, he's shown that he's been a valuable squad member, and I was someone that was highly critical of him at one point. You all remember my opinions on him, and he's turned them around like that. So fair play to him. He's become a valuable member of the squad, and I believe in a few years we may be putting him in that orange bit. I don't think he'll ever be world class, but we may be putting him in that orange bit. Alexis Sanchez, transfer list. Need I say anything else? He needs to get out of here. We can't be keeping him on these wages at the club. It'll just affect everything there. Players that will want new deals will be saying, I need this X, Y and Z because look at this fella. He's not even here and he's making more than me. He needs to be put on that transfer list and got rid of. Marcus Rashford, potential legend. I think this one goes without saying. I think he's someone that, you know, if things go to plan, he could be potentially knocking on the door with Wayne Rooney's goal scoring record at Manchester United. I think he's really coming to his own this season. The injury came at a dreadful time for him. I think he's a player that in 3-4 years we could potentially be saying is world class if he keeps up the kind of form he showed recently on a consistent basis. He's not a squad player, he is a future star, he's a current star as well, but he's a potential legend at Manchester United. I think Marcus Rashford, goals, assists, the way he plays, obviously being an academy player helps him as well, and the way that, you know, we look at academy players coming through in the club and the importance that they have to this club, but you've also got to look at the talent and the ability and what he's doing on a regular basis for Manchester United, and it's phenomenal. And next to him, as a potential legend, goes his mate Anthony Martial. Again, he needs to do it consistently on a regular basis for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then you could potentially start looking at him and thinking, you know, if he does that for United on a regular basis, scores 25 goals plus a season for the next, you could potentially start looking at him as world class, like with Marcus Rashford. We've only got to see glimpses for whatever reasons at these moments in times. This season, he was well on course for 20 plus goals. The season when Mourinho signed Sanchez, he was well on course for 20 plus goals. Now, for whatever reason, that hasn't happened, but we need to see it happen. And I think we've seen signs that he's settling down, knuckling down, starting to really mature as a player and as a person. And United will benefit for that. And I think he's a potential legend for the club. Now we come to Viva Igalo. Yes, Viva Igalo. United need to keep this fella in the squad. We know he's only on loan. We know he's going to be heading back to Shanghai Shenhua. But he needs to be signed up. And he needs to be a squad player for Manchester United. And that's why he's in that yellow tier for me. Get Adrian Igalo signed up. I think we'll sign him this summer and probably Jadon Sancho, and that'll be it. But if that is our only 2 signings and Igalo's one of them, I'll be a very happy man. Get him in there. Right then, Mason Greenwood. Now, this one's hard for me because he could rightly fit into 3 positions on this. He is a future star. With his goals that he's developed, that he's brought to the team, he's a valuable squad player. But he's also a potential legend because he is a generational talent. But I think we got to calm down. And for that reason, and for myself to relax, I'd put him in as a future star, which is fair. But I genuinely think he could be a potential legend, could be a valuable, well, he is a valuable squad member and he is a future star. He is a potential, I'm going to put him in as a potential legend. Fuck it. There you go. Mason Greenwood, potential legend. Didn't see that coming before I started this video. I really didn't. Now, Tahith Chong's a strange one. I've put him in as a squad player. Now, he could be a future star. He has potential, he has ability. But I think he's probably, with his performances for the first team this season, he's probably lost a little bit of that, you know, that glitz and that glamour of him coming through. But that's not to say he's lost the chance at United. I think people have rushed quickly to judge him. And I think with the lack of width that we have, even if we sign Jadon Sancho, he's going to be a valuable squad player. He might go on loan or something, who knows. But if he stays in the squad, he's a valuable squad player because we need width. We need players out wide. Could see him go on loan and be on a loan list, but the loan list isn't a list here. There isn't a tier here for that. And I think it'd be unfair to put him on the transfer list. So I'd go squad player. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the full Manchester United current first team squad tier list. Let me know what you lot are thinking. Did I get anything wrong? Is there somebody world class that shouldn't be? Potential legend, squad player, future star? Is there someone I've been too kind to and should have put on the transfer list that I didn't? Let us know in those comments below. Keep your thoughts coming in here on Adam McKola TV, you absolute legends. Make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. Join if you fancy it as well. These are now available too. There's a home and away edition. Away editions in green and gold. So if you fancy it, click on the shop button. But for now, I've been Adam McKola. You lot have been absolute legends. This has been the Manchester United current squad tier list. Get your thoughts in the comments below. I'm out of here.